Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the final July edition of Tracksuit Thursday. I got my tracksuit on. Now, admittedly, since we are on the road, we're actually in Park City, Utah, the tracksuit selection is light, right? It's summertime, so I didn't bring all my tracksuits with me. So I'll kind of be rocking the blue one probably till we get back to at least November. And now I'll probably buy another one in the fall when we get to Phoenix. Anyway, welcome to July's final edition of Tracksuit Thursday. Really starting to iron the kinks out of this whole process. Last time we did this, there was quite a few technical difficulties, but we got a brand new computer running. We got good bandwidth. We have process docs. Melanie D'Arienzo has been helping me organize all this such that it can actually come off mostly without a hitch. Tracksuit Thursday sponsored by PFC, Peace Freedom Connection. Do be sure to go and check out peacefreedomconnection.com. The website is really starting to round out. Lots of great resources there, articles, videos. There's a whole section now with, call them affiliates, call them partners, other really incredible coaches and practitioners and people that are, at least in my mind, committed to the PFC movement. So lots of great stuff to check out. We'll be launching an interactive, call it an assessment, pretty quickly, where you can go and you can answer a few questions, and based on the questions, be guided to some specific resources that will help you create more peace, freedom, connection in your own life. Please do whatever that is, the like, subscribe thingy, if you will, here for the Peace, Freedom, Connection on LinkedIn. We also have one on Instagram and Facebook if you're on those channels. But most importantly, for next month, what we are announcing is something really special. Each of the Tracksuit Thursday sessions, 2 will be live, 2 will be recorded every month. Each month will cover a certain topic. This month has been all about the topic of commitment. I'm sure I'm supposed to be remembering what next month is, but maybe Melanie can chat that to me someplace. But the whole point is we're going to be launching something special wherein at the end of the month, on the last session, the last Tracksuit Thursday, there'll be the public conversation, the public live that I'm doing. And then there will be a private kind of, working session, free workshop. What are we calling it? A free 1-hour small group workshop to dive deeper into the theme. So for August, we'll be launching that. That workshop will only be available to folks who are subscribed to the email list, if you will. So you got to go to peacefreedomconnection.com. There's some place to put your name in there to subscribe, be part of the newsletter, get announcements. If you do that, you could be selected as one of the folks to participate in the free hourly workshop. So that's your incentive to go do that. Sign up, go make that happen. What are we chatting about today? Well, as I said, relationships is the theme for August. That's going to be a really fun one. I got to tell you, LinkedIn's kind of a professional platform. And a lot of times on LinkedIn, I'm talking about, stuff that applies to our professional world and income and professional growth and things like that. But what is any of that worth without relationships in our life? And that includes friend relationships, romantic relationships, relationships with our family. So we'll be talking about that in August, and that'll be a real cool conversation. Hey, look, Melanie put the sign up link in the little comment box, so that'll make it easy to go check that and click that and then go over there. So do that, and you could be part of the special workshop in August. One more announcement. I put a post up this week announcing that I was going to be doing a 90-minute, it's paid, it's very low fee, but it's a paid workshop also on August 25th. This is going to be a fun one. I woke up over the weekend and had this idea. Would it be possible to convey, to share essentially the same protocol, process, framework that I use with my one-on-one clients? Would it be possible to share that in like 90 minutes, like with a much broader audience as kind of an introduction? So you would send me a message about that, or go check my feed. You'll see the post about it. But if that's interesting, I've got about, I don't know, 20 or 30 people signed up. Should be a really fun time. We're going to be basically going deep into the, the process I use with my one-on-one clients to help them create massive amounts of peace and freedom and connection in their life. So check that out. All right, I think that's all the announcements. If I've missed anything, Melanie will prompt me. So that's wonderful. Have a little more coffee here. We're going to talk today about commitment again. One of my favorite topics. Now, when I talk about commitment, I'm not talking about like the traditional way that we think about it, like, oh, you have my commitment to that. So for me, when two people are interacting about something and one says to the other, hey, I'm going to do this, you can count on me. Or the person says, I'd like to ask you to do this, and the two people agree on something, that's an agreement, right? So from just a language standpoint, people use the word commitment, like you have my commitment, and there's nothing wrong with that. You go to the dictionary, it talks about commitment that way, but the way I'm going to be talking about commitment today is very different. So know that when you say you're going to do something, when you give somebody your word, another person, I call that an agreement. To me, commitment is a fundamentally, completely, and significantly different world. In fact, when I talk about commitment, I'm referring to commitment as a state of being, right? A lot of what I do is talk about being. Who are you being that's producing our thinking, that's even creating the fundamental actions you take that then produces the results in your life. So commitment as a state of being is a different, let's call it a different frame or a different plane for creation, right? So we are all creators. We create ourselves. We create our world. The tools with which we are creating, right? How we're creating our world determine how big we can create, what we can create, how long it takes. So this might sound sort of abstract. It might not. If you've heard me talk about this, then it's making sense. If this is the first time you're like, what? That's okay. Stick with me. So I'm going to recap some things about commitment as a state of being. And then we'll talk about, okay, well, how do you start to apply and employ this state of being called commitment, right? To create in the world. So first, the distinction that's very important. What I like to say is that all creation occurs from either a state of being I call desire, or a state of being called commitment. States of being, right? Not like just the words, but who we are being. Now, desire is easy to relate to because that's how most of us create in the world, right? What we do, I got my little scrolling wheel of death over here. Hopefully it's still working. I'm gonna be very, very distressed if we have issues going on. Anyway, I'll keep talking and somebody will tell me if it blows up. Nope, looks like it's working. So, yep, there we go. So creating from a state of being desire is what we're used to doing, wherein we have an idea of what we want to create in the world. I want this job. I want this much money. I want this car. I want to, date that woman, man, whatever you're into. We have an idea of what we want to move towards. Usually the idea of what we want to move towards is itself formed, framed, and limited by our idea of how we would get there. So for most people in the world, where we're trying to get to is only seen through the lens of how would I do it. We don't tend to think about wheres, destinations, that we have no idea how to get to. So in desire, I come up with a where, W-H-E-R-E, or else I could call it a destination. I create a plan to get there, and then I execute the plan. That's normal. That's how we do things. That's how we're used to creating in life. I want to get there. How am I going to do it? Take the steps, wake up every day, take your actions. That's creating from desire. Now, creating from commitment is a whole different universe. Fundamentally, creating from a state of being commitment begins past what I've already figured out how to do, right? Like, I'll slow down a little bit here because the coffee's kicking in. But I really want you to get this. If all I do is create in life things that I've already figured out how I'm going to get there, well, there's nothing wrong with that, but it will limit how much I can create, how big I can create in the world. If I start to look at what is beyond the limits of what I already know how to do, and I begin there, well, I'm going to have to call upon, let's just say, forces or information or intelligence outside of myself, right? Now, this in of itself is a radical idea for a lot of people. The idea of creating, beginning from, I don't know how I'm going to do that, right? Most people don't even want to get started on a journey unless they've already got the map to get there. Well, there's a whole nother kind of journeying, which begins with, I want to get to this place I don't even know how to get to, and I'll figure it out as I go. That is the domain, that is the world of creating from commitment. That is where commitment exists, is required, is useful, etc. So another way of saying it is, if you know how to get there already, you don't need commitment because you have a plan. Conversely, creating from commitment doesn't require a plan. Again, this sounds radical, but most of the creating I do starts with an idea. Well, I could get here, I could get here, I could get here. I have no idea past that. That's where I'm going to get committed to. And the plan comes on the other side of commitment. So for most people, commitment is something they'll give, they'll create when they know how it's going to happen, if it's going to happen, when it's going to happen, that they're certain it's going to happen. This idea of creating from commitment is completely outside of that because it starts from, I'm committed, and the road will build itself, is the way that I say that. So another way of saying this thing I've been sharing with you is, creating from commitment exists past what you know how to do and you can do, but not further than what you know you can't do. So why would we do it this way? Well, for one, it allows for an exponential level of creation in our lives. Another reason is that creating from commitment creates the possibility that we are assisted through, let's just call it, forces outside of ourselves on that journey. Another way of saying that very simply is, creating from commitment has the potential, and I would even say the certainty, to produce miracles. Now, when I say miracles, I don't mean burning bushes and stone tablets coming down from the mountain. What I mean is, miracles are those outcomes in the world for which traditional cause and effect doesn't apply. If you've ever tried to get something done and it happened, and you're like, wow, I can't even believe that happened, these things came out of nowhere to assist me, I call that a miracle, right? If I got a plan and I'm just working my plan, I don't need miracles. If I am playing a big game, starting out there past which I know what I can do, getting committed to it, well, what I have experienced, and a lot of others have experienced, is this idea that the universe, God, consciousness, whatever you want to put in there, will step in to assist you, to aid you. Things start happening, coming out of nowhere. Now, I used to feel weird talking about this, miracles and God consciousness, etc. But the reality is, everybody's experienced this. I've never talked to a single person who hasn't said, yeah, I have had an experience of that. I had this idea, didn't know how I would do it. I knew in my mind, I was certain I would get there, even though I didn't know how, and stuff just started happening. Everybody has that. So even if you're going, I don't know what he's talking about, you've experienced this. So this idea is, commitment is a state of being wherein we come up with an idea of something we want to create in the world, and we're not constrained by how am I going to do it. We're not attached to how it's going to happen, if it's going to happen. That's an important principle of commitment. And we begin taking actions from that commitment. And what I'm going to talk about in a few minutes is, well, how do we do this? How do you conjure commitment? It's very simple, it turns out. But I'm spending some good time here so we can kind of lay the foundation of what it is and why you would use it and all those sorts of things. One of the most important aspects of creating from commitment is, I believe, the simultaneous state of certainty and non-attachment, right? That's a paradox for you guys going, wait a minute, what's he saying, right? A paradox is two seemingly contradictory or conflicting ideas existing at the same time. So part of maintaining the state of being commitment is getting into it. And we'll talk about that in a second. But the most important part about it is that we maintain this idea, this mindset of it will happen because I'm committed to it and I'm completely unattached to if it happens, how it happens, when it happens. Now that's where people's minds start to melt. What do you mean? Commitment means it has to happen. Yes, it does. And it means you're not attached to it. That's a paradox. So when I get committed to something, it will occur from my commitment to it. And I remain completely unattached to whether it happens, if it happens, how it happens, etc. Now, lots of ways I can talk about this. One of the simplest ways that I'll try to convey this is by sharing something a lot of people are familiar with, and that is the law of attraction. People have read the thing called The Secret. People are familiar with things like affirmations and manifesting. Well, the principle of all of that stuff is very simple, and that is whatever I hold in my mind as an idea, I will move towards. Anybody who's going like, I don't know about that, well, go read a book or something, because I can't help you. It's very basic. Anything you put your mind to, you will move towards. What most people, that's the law of attraction. What most people don't consider is that there is a counter force in play here. Now, Victor Bloch, one of the two, somebody can put it in the notes, wrote a book called How to Solve All Your Money Problems Forever. Cheesy title, great book. And he's the first person that I ever saw to really articulate this idea that the law of attraction moves us towards something, but there's a counter force that will push against us. And that is, he calls it the law of repulsion, right? There's a force that will repel. And just as the law of attraction moves us towards something, pulls us towards something, if we desire it, the degree to which we are attached to receiving it creates repulsion. So as an idea, I can manifest money. I'm going to create $100,000, right? As an idea, I can manifest that through this process of visualization, and you guys know about that stuff. However, if that which I am looking to move towards represents for me something that I need to have an internal state, right, like happiness or fulfillment, right, that will actually repel. So the degree to which I can move towards something, desiring it will move me towards it. But the degree to which I am attached to achieving it, like I need to have that, like if I don't get that $100,000 or that salary, that car, or that woman, well, then I'm not going to be a real man. I'm not going to reach the degree to which I'm attached to the outcome. Well, that creates repulsion. So this idea of push and pull, which is where, when I'm talking about this concept of creating from commitment, it is important to do your best to maintain this idea that it will happen because I said it will happen. It's in my mind. It's an idea. I'm creating it. I'm committed to it, and complete unattachment. Hopefully everybody's doing good with this stuff. All right. Let's talk about how do we do this? Thank you for putting the link up there, Melanie. It's a great book. You guys should get it. So what I'm hoping is you guys will begin to play with this idea, right? I've given you some theory about commitment. I'm going to talk about the practical, very tangible side of how do I create commitment as a state of being. And what I'd love for you guys to do with this is go out and play with it. Practice it, try it. Now, if you wake up tomorrow and say, oh, I'm going to try this commitment thing, and you go pick like some massive goal, like I'm going to make $1 million this year, you might do it, you might not. I would invite you to play the game called Creating from Commitment, where the stakes are small. And I'll give you a couple examples. My wife loves Pellegrino with dinner. We go out to dinner. She gets her Pellegrino. She's 2 years of no drinking. She made a decision 2 years ago she was going to stop drinking. A very powerful personal decision, not related to any sort of problems, but she just said, this is what I want to do. It's been 2 years. So we got to dinner. She likes her Pellegrino. She gets it in a wine glass, no ice, with some limes. So we go out to eat sometimes and say, hey, we'd like the Pellegrino. No, we give the order. And the waiter or waitress says, oh, we're sorry, we're out of Pellegrino. Yeah, that's interesting. We're out of Pellegrino. No Pellegrino. In that moment, what I choose to do is play the game called, well, I'm committed to my wife's getting a Pellegrino, right? I could simply take what they say. Okay, sorry, honey, you get some gun soda water, tough luck. What I do though, is I play this game called creating from commitment. I get committed to, we're going to have our Pellegrino. I'm certain we're going to create one for, and I'm completely unattached to whether we do or not. I get committed to it, and I'm going to tell you how we do that in a second. And then I start to take action from that commitment. And most times, guess what we end up having at the table? A Pellegrino. So I'm going to invite you guys to start to practice this game where it doesn't really matter, because it's much easier to stay unattached, right? Which is critical to creating from commitment. Another place that I create from commitment, this one might blow some people's minds, is parking spaces. Downtown St. Pete, particularly around spring break. We live in St. Petersburg from November to April. Downtown St. Petersburg, really tough to find parking. Lots of people down there, not a lot of parking spaces. There's garages. I don't like parking in garages. If we're headed downtown to have dinner, or I'm picking up Louisa from getting her nails or hair done or whatever she's doing downtown, I could get downtown, drive around, and look for a parking spot, right? That would be creating from desire. I'll just, follow the process. You drive around till you see some parking spot and you pull in. What I do instead is I create from commitment. As I'm traveling downtown, I get committed to, there will be a parking spot. In fact, I get committed to where it's going to be, which street, which spot. I get serious about this. I get committed to, and I'm going to tell you the process for this. There's going to be a spot here. It'll be ready for me when I get there. I get committed to that idea. Almost always, guess what happens? I'm turning the corner onto Central. The spot that I wanted, somebody's pulling out, I pull in. Sounds fantastical. Some people might not even believe it. Try it for yourself. Play with it with things like that. See what happens. All right. Thanks for hanging out with me, guys. So as it pertains to creating from commitment, it's actually fairly straightforward, right? First and foremost, you must create in your mind an idea of what is it you want to get committed to, right? It should be tangible. It should be specific. I didn't say reasonable. It should be something that we could validate is done. Like, I want to commit to being happy. A little harder. I want to commit to that parking spot is there. I want to commit to, I'm going to walk up to the restaurant. There won't be any wait. They'll have a table for us. That would be possible. I'm going to commit to creating a client next week. I'm going to commit to somebody having a insight or transformation the next time we talk. I'm going to commit to somebody laughing, right? Something that would be specific, something that would be a tangible outcome, but there's a caveat. Commitments aren't really outcomes. Don't have the time to get into that. What I'll say very simply is we use an outcome like a goal to create a commitment, but a commitment is a place to come from, not a place to get to, because we don't care if we get there. A commitment is a place to come from, not a place to get to. That would be a goal. So commitments are different than goals, but we use something that sounds like a goal to shift ourselves into the state of being commitment, and then we play the game from there. So it looks like a goal, but it's not. So think that in terms of how you're going to create it. Once you have the idea of what you want to create, well, you must create that commitment. Now, you can create your commitment in a couple of ways. You can create it in your mind, right? You can create it with your word, and you can create it, by writing it down or typing it down. I find the most powerful way to create commitment is with my word, to speak it. Thinking my commitment is not the same sort of leverage as speaking my commitment or even writing it down. So if I'm going to get committed to something, like when I'm driving around looking for a parking spot, I'm literally speaking out loud, by myself in the car. I'm committed to that spot will be available. I'm speaking out loud. Now, what's even more powerful is to create that commitment with others, to speak it. Like if I'm on the phone with Louisa and she's telling me where to meet her, I say, cool, I'm committed to, there'll be a parking spot right out front. I'm creating that commitment. I'm speaking it into the universe with someone else. I say it out loud. I share it. So a lot of times when I'm talking to folks and they want to get committed to something, I will guide them to get committed in that moment. Commit to whatever it is you want to commit to. hey, Townsend, I want you to know in this moment I'm committed to, and then they'll speak it. I say, great. Now, don't take that commitment and put it in your pocket and hide it. Go create it as many times as possible. One of my dear friends created a commitment 3 or 4 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, when he was here visiting us, that he was going to create his first client, his first coaching client he picked a date in August. So he created the commitment with me by speaking it. And what I instructed him to do was to create that commitment with as many other people as possible. Don't worry about how you're going to accomplish it. Focus on creating the commitment, speaking it. Tell as many people as possible. Tell your wife, tell your boss, tell your coworkers. When you're in line at the grocery store and somebody says, "Oh, how's your day, sir?" Instead of "good, it's fine," and answering that way, you could answer, "It's actually amazing. I created a commitment. I'm going to have my first coaching client on August 8th. Speaking your commitment into the universe, speaking your commitment to other creators is what, for lack of a better word, gets the commitment into motion, gets the universe working for you. Now, sometimes people are like, "What, that's all you got to do is speak it?" Well, yes and no. In its purest form, creating from commitment doesn't require you to take any other action. However, you should take the actions that occur for you to take, right? Speaking your commitment to yourself and to others kind of gets the ball rolling. What you will find after you create your commitment is ideas, thoughts, and opportunities will begin to appear and arise that occur to do. So it's not just like, I'm going to write my commitment down on a card, stick it on the counter, go to the couch and turn on the TV. You could if you want to, and things may happen, but what's going to work a lot better is if you look for opportunities to put your commitment into action. You see, commitment is powerful, but it does require action from that state of being, not from whatever plan you have, but from whatever shows up. Back in November, when I created PFC, it was created from a commitment, nothing more. I didn't have a plan. I didn't have a strategy. I didn't have a mission statement. I literally had committed to my coach, Steve Hardison, that I would launch PFC on November 11th. On November 11th, showed up in his office. I had created a commitment to this thing. And I walked in wearing a tracksuit that had PFC on it, because when I had committed to launching it, the idea that popped into my head was, well, I could get one of my tracksuits just embroidered. I went to Nordstrom's, they had a machine there. I could show up with a PFC tracksuit. That idea showed up from the commitment. It wasn't a plan. And then I got committed to it. And then all these ideas started popping into my head, and I took action on them. So this isn't about some mystical voodoo force where you don't have to do anything and stuff appears out of nowhere. Kind of does sometimes, but it does require the creator, you, me, whoever, to create that commitment, speak it, share it, write it, talk to as many people about it. And then from that creation of your commitment, notice what is showing up that your mind goes, well, I could do this, I could do this. You will, from a state of being commitment, begin to experience and generate ideas and thoughts and see opportunities that were not there beforehand. Like, as an example, you're in the grocery line, and I said this to my buddy, you could be talking to the cashier who says, "How's your day, sir?" "Oh, it's amazing. I'm actually committed to," and you speak your commitment out loud. And the guy behind you goes, "Hey, I'm looking for a coach." Right? That's an example of how the force and power of creating from commitment could work. And I've got hundreds of examples of this. But we're out of time for today. So I want to say thank you. I want to encourage you to go come up with some things you can commit to, write them down, speak them, share them, put them in the chat, send them to me. What do you want to get committed to? I would love to commit you to getting your butt over to peacefreedomconnection.com, putting your name in there so you can get emails from us and possibly be one of the folks who next month will be part of the special small group that will be going a deeper dive into the relationships conversation. So do that. Like the PFC page here on LinkedIn, go visit our other socials, get your photos in your tracksuits, tag them, put them up on social media. And more importantly, see what you can do to create for yourself and others as much peace, freedom, and connection as possible. This is an incredible life. This is an incredible world. We live in the most magical, amazing time ever. If you are not loving that, if you're not experiencing that with all the richness and power and joy that should be there, well, I can strongly suggest you do something about that. Thank you so much. If there's anything I do to support your journey, please do reach out. Have an amazing day, everybody.